While we're doing that, do you know what would be really helpful? Can we put in chat what is the kind of primary thing that you would like to get out of this session, so I can make sure that we steer the conversation in that direction? Grayson, because you're up there, put in chat for me what was it that you would really like to get out of this session, or what you're hoping to get out of this session. So, Nathan, should I give you some background on Nathan to make answering that question? Nathan basically works with production companies and helps them raise co-pro money and finances for their productions. There's various different ways that you can do that, various different investment ways of doing that, which he'll all explain. So that's kind of the kind of nutshell of what this conversation is about. But it'd be really helpful for you guys to put, or if you know, what is your intentions or why are you here? Is there something that you're working on that you need some advice on, so that we can really make sure we steer the conversation in the right direction? Grayson, have you got anything that you want to ask? Are you just listening and just kind of hoping for more information? I don't want to start calling out people. That's really mean. Palish, have you got any reason? Although I say it's mean, I still do it. Palish, have you got anything that you're hoping to get, or you're hoping to wanting to leave the session with? Wonderful. Thank you for joining in, guys. You have questions? Yeah, here I'll post it a second. Please, while we're waiting for Nathan to kind of jump in, please let us know. It's funny how the weather does it. Like the weather mashes up the trains, but it seems to be playing with people's internet today as well. So we've had a few technicals, and I know that Nathan is coming in from LA as well, which I'm sure I talk about. So Nathan is currently in LA as we speak. Is anybody else giving me an indication of what else they're hoping to get out of this session? Is there any specifics? Do people want to know specifically about CoPros? You want to know, let's see, want to know what makes him lean forward in his chair when he reads a pitch for money or business? That's a really good one. Has anybody got any other thoughts in terms of what they would like from this session? Oh, Nathan is back. Perfect time. Perfect time. Hey,
Oh, can you
cool.
hear me and see me?
We could hear you and see you. I knew I was making jokes about you. I was like this. I was talking about you and like ignoring me. I was
I
like,
was
I'm
under
gonna fully shot. Do you know what I mean? It's wonderful to have you here. To have you here. Before we kind of jump into it, do you want to tell people a little bit about yourself, kind of what you're doing, you know, why we should be listening to you, why you're an expert in this field? So tell us a little bit about who you are, who you work for, and what you currently do. It would be fantastic.
Cool. So my name is Nathan Adabadze. I am a senior investment manager at Media Finance Capital. MFC is a debt fund, so we provide loans to producers against contracted collateral. In the film world, collateral is pre-sales, tax credits, sales agent MGs, sometimes gap loans, which are secured against sales estimates from sales agents. But we can basically lend against any contracted collateral. So even, for example, the Global Screen Media Fund, if that's just paid on delivery, we can provide loans to production against that collateral and be repaid from those payments further down the line, just to help with a producer's cash flow.
Wonderful. Wow. And given that the climate is quite challenging at the moment, are you finding that is this kind of been around for a little while? Is this a new kind, or kind of a newer wave to raise money, and is it kind of becoming more and more popular as it's quite challenging at the moment?
It's definitely a challenging environment. I think debt finance has always been around. I think it's depending on where you are. So in the US system relies a lot more on just equity. So they don't really use debt as much as we do in kind of Europe, etc. So I think it's becoming more popular in the US because it's harder and harder to make money from film productions. And we're actually seeing quite a lot of film productions move from the US to Europe because of the strikes last year, etc. And just because of all the incentives throughout Europe that will help get a production off the ground.
For the people in the cheap seats like me, explain debt financing. Kind of just give us a review about what debt financing is. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, no worries. So the way I like to provide a parallel is like house. When you're buying a house, right? So a bank will provide you a loan against the value of your property. Your deposit is your equity, and therefore, if the value of the house goes up, your equity goes up. If the value of the property goes down, your equity is diminished. Irrespective of the value of the property, you still have your mortgage, whereby you make fixed interest payments on a monthly basis. So in the film world, we'll lend, so for example, and don't quote any of these prices because I'm just pulling them out of thin air. But say, for example, in the UK, the tax credit's going up to 40% next year. If the budget is £1 million, the tax credit, for argument's sake, is worth 400,000. My company may give you 350,000 towards the value of the tax credit towards your production financing. You have to have the rest of the budget in place, but that leaves you with, how good's my maths, 650 to find. You take that 650 plus our 350, make your film, submit a tax return to HMRC. We then collect the 400,000 and make that 50k margin as our interest premium.
Does that make sense? Sorry, just does that make sense to people? Just give me a little signal, because it's an interesting way that we can kind of raise money. So give me a little signal. Don't be shy. Just give me a little signal. Yeah, just about. All right, let's do that again. No, let's do that one again. I knew because I was like, so let's do that one again. Right. And Grayson's raised her hand. Oh, I'm thinking a minute. Go ahead.
Cool. So similarly, so I was using an example of a tax credit, but this argument could also be used for pre-sale agreements. So say Universal, let's just keep it simple. The budget is £1 million. Universal say, we're going to give you £1 million towards your for delivery of the film, but they'll only pay you on delivery once you make the film and deliver the materials to them. So we would provide you the filmmaker, with, like, let's say 900,000 towards the production budget. You then would need to get another 100,000 somewhere. You can get it from the BFI, or let's say from 4, or from a tax credit. That are 900,000 plus the million plus the 100,000 gets you to the £1 million budget. You make the film. When you then deliver it to a Universal, they'll then pay us on delivery the £1 million. So we've made 100,000. We gave you 900,000 towards your production budget. You've delivered it to Universal. They then give us £1 million, and we've made 100 grand. Does that make a bit more sense?
I believe so. And again, for those in the cheap seats like me, when you talk about tax credits, just give us an overview of what you so it's like a loan. So yep. So it's like, let me just kind of share some of that comments so that everybody can see. I'm sure everybody can. But so it's like a loan. Essentially, it's like a loan.
Yep. Yeah, it's a loan. It's a loan. So rather than an equity investment, it's a senior loan.
Wonderful. And everybody's on the right page. Everybody agrees. Just talk to us a lot about the tax credits, because you said that tax credits are going to go up by 40% next year, is what you just said, yeah? So do you want to just give us a quick...
To 40%, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Just give us a quick overview.
So countries throughout the world basically provide either tax credits or rebates to incentivize producers to produce their films in their respective countries. It has all sorts of benefits, because if you have a production, if you have, for example, an American production that comes over to the UK and shoots there, you have to house the cast, you have to house the crew, you have to feed the crew, etc. So it has so much benefit for the local economy. And it is one of the biggest sectors in the UK. Post the strikes last year in America, there's actually been quite a lot of there's been a significant dip in film production in the UK. I saw a Guardian article in the summer which basically said half of crew are out of work since the strikes last year.
Scary.
So I think the government have tried to address this by increasing the tax credit. So the tax credit was previously 20% of your expenditure in the UK. It averaged out at 20%. Now, basically, they have upped it. The Tory government upped it, and Labour are now kind of keeping to that premise. Then upping it to 40%. It's actually 53%, but after you take off corporation tax, it nets down to about 40 to 38% of your UK expenditure. So basically, it's a benefit to you guys, because it means that we can provide. Before, we could only provide a loan of, let's just for argument's sake, 20%. Now we can provide a loan up to 40% of your production budget, and you're now only looking for 60% from the market in order to kind of raise financing for your film.
I kind of get that. There's a few questions. A question from Grace, so let me kind of call her
Yeah.
up, and then we can kind of move on to like, at what point do you start engaging with producers, or when do producers start to talk to you? Grace, there was a couple of questions you had, so I'm going to invite you on the stage if you can, so that you can answer those questions. There was a couple
Yeah.
that she had, so she can ask herself. I think she should appear any
Well, so the
minute.
questions appeared. Will she
No,
appear to ask it?
well, she will appear to ask it, but while we're waiting for her to appear to answer, um, she was. I'm not sure what she was talking. I think she was talking about, yeah. So, is it beneficial to get kind of stuff like hotels and flight, and discounts, and maybe the funding? Oh, she's here. She can ask herself. Fantastic. Grayson, over to you, sweetheart. Do you want to ask your question?
Oh, I'm here. Yeah, sorry. Well, I am in Target right now.
We can hear you, but maybe move slightly closer to the mic. You're just a little distant from the mic. Do you want to ask your question?
Give me
Yeah, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
1 second.
No, we can't hear you. Can you hear Nathan?
It's quite low. I can't quite hear.
Yeah, I don't know if you can speak a little louder or come a little closer to the mic.
Hold on 2 seconds.
Okay, while you're doing that, there is another. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Is this
Yeah.
better? Is that better?
Yeah.
Ah, perfect. I just had to walk out of the door. So my question for you is that when you're doing your budget and stuff, if you get like Marriott or say British Airways or something like that added in, like if they're willing to pay for flights or charge you less, is that something you would put in when you're like saying, okay, I have these partnerships, when you go to get the rest of your funding? Like, is that beneficial to be able to say, hey, these people are going to come in, it's going to lower it, my entire budget? Is that good or bad?
I think it's. I mean, it's good. I mean, a saving in the it's just this money to find. What it could actually do, because if you still raise, say your budget is $1 million and you've found savings, what, from a flight or a hotel, etc., it means that you can put more, you can allocate more money to another part of the production budget. I would say either that or it helps you reduce the budget. So I think it's always a good thing to be able to get savings anywhere you can.
But does that, when somebody's looking at what you're bringing to the table, will that influence decisions being like, hey, these people are coming in? Like, does that help?
Say that one more time.
I said, think what she's saying. You know, when you're talking about kind of raising finances, those things, would they be considered as part of the finance deal that you're raising? So the fact that you've got maybe British Airways allocated some flights, or you can kind of offset. Is that what you're saying? Am I summarizing that right? Or if you're still here, maybe you can. Yeah. Can you offset some of those things against your budget? Those kind of maybe they're not cash, but it's things that people have given in kind or kind of supported with kind of flights or other bits and pieces. Is that something you can offset against your budget?
I suppose so. Yeah. I mean, I think you would still have a line item in your budget, but it would either be lower or at nil because you've got it in kind. I think you can also live outside of the budget if it doesn't actually incur a cost. You could do either. I suppose. Yeah. Maybe it could live. There are no hard and fast rules, I don't think. I would probably. It depends whether or not it has incurred a cost, because you could be offered a deal and then something happened during photography that then means it does incur a cost, and then in your cost report, actually, you probably want to have it in there to then be included in expenditure that you would then get a tax credit loan on, if that makes sense.
Is that helpful, Grayson? Grayson, is that helpful? Okay, I'm not sure if she's having connectivity. Yes, she says yes, it was. At what point do you talk to producers, or when do producers start to connect with you or start those conversations about kind of, how you can help them, how you can support them in terms of raising finance or access and some of the finances you have?
So it's at all stages, really. We're typically last in, first out. So we would come on board once you have a production budget, production schedule, cost attached, you're gearing up into pre-production, and you've got the other pieces of the finance plan together. However, we do projects at all stages, even if you're just at scripts, created your budget, we can often then provide a quote if we have like ballpark timings for your production schedule, when you would submit a tax credit or when you would deliver to a certain distributor, etc. And we can give you indicative pricing and terms, which can then feed into your finance plan and help you understand that, okay, you're going to have a loan from us of 350. The production budget is $1 million. Therefore, we need to go out and find 650 from we provide engaging lawyers until we know that the rest of the finance plan is also in place.
You might need to say a little bit more, a little bit of that.
Take steps forward.
Nate, you kind of dropped out a little bit. I don't know if that was me. I don't know if that was for other people. But could you just repeat that?
Yeah.
So you were just talking about when they would come to you, and you were saying that they can come at various parts of the journey, but you were kind of going into. Can you just repeat that a little bit? Just because you dropped out a little bit. I don't know if that was my.
Yeah, that's fine.
Go.
Can you hear me now, though?
Yeah, perfect, wonderful.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, can hear you.
Okay, cool. So what I was saying was that I think there's a delay. We're typically last in, first out. So we would come on board once you have a budget, production schedule, cost attached, and you're gearing up for pre-production, and you have kind of the rest of the financing in place. To then do a legal closing, whereby we put in our lawyers, draft legal documents, security documents, etc. So that's when we typically actually then come on board to provide a loan. However, we see projects at all stages. Even if you just have a budget and a temporary finance plan, just to give you kind of an indicative sense of how you're going to put together the budget, we can provide you with indicative pricing based off of assumptions as to when you need the loan, when you're going to either submit a tax credit claim or deliver to a distributor. We can then provide you with a quote. So say, for example, we're providing you with a tax credit loan, we say we can give you 350. You then know that I actually have to find 650 from the market, whether that's going to the BFI, BBC, or going to a sales agent and then contracting pre-sales to you for you to then get us to provide you with a further loan, or if it's just you going out and raising 650 in equity from an equity partner. So we're more than happy to engage and provide a quote at any stage.
Okay. All right, let me Ellie, you've got a question. Let me show your question, Ellie.
We can't move forward until you.
Okay, I'm not sure. Hello. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna. Is anybody else having problems? Is it my internet? Because it might be me. I might need to move to a closer to my router. Might need to be closer to my router. Okay. Let me go to Ellie. Ellie's got a question. Great. And I'm gonna invite Ellie to come and ask her a question. Maybe, and if you can, that's great. If you can't, no stress. Is it predominantly scripted projects that you work on?
No, we do feature film. We've done feature docs. We've done TV documentaries. We've done some kids animation. So we've looked at factual entertainment. We haven't done any to date, but we could do factual entertainment, for example. Yeah, we were looking at a factual entertainment program where Channel 5 were paying on delivery, and we could cash flow that paper. So we're kind of across the board.
Across the board. I think, Nathan, where are you? Because I know that you're not in the UK at the moment, aren't you? You are abroad, aren't you? And there's a kind of mad time difference.
No, I'm in
LA.
LA.
A bit. Yeah. Go and show off. Then go on. Where are you? Where did you say you were in LA?
I'm in LA. So I'm doing yes. So I'm doing a course called Inside Pictures, which is a leadership training course. I think someone's joining.
Hi.
Yeah. So
can you see me? Can you hear me?
At the moment. Yeah, we can hear you, Eddie. So you're in LA at the moment. Right? Are you kind of delivering a course at the moment? Yeah, Nathan, or are you part of a course? Oh dear.
bit. So doing a course called Inside Pictures, where half the cohort are executives in the film industry, half the cohort are producers. And we've just done a whole host of like training on the film industry, meeting the studios. This component took place in LA, so we're meeting with like Disney, Paramount, who else? A bunch of producers. We were here to understand the US system, the guilds, the unions, and how that impacts the way producers operate. And then now that was last week, and now I'm just doing producer meetings, so meeting with producers out here.
Wonderful, how exciting. Ellie, you had a question about, and I know that Nathan started to ask it, but his connection's a little bit kind of dropped out a little bit. Ellie, what was your question? Was it about kind of whether?
Yeah, I didn't hear anything either when I was joining.
Please go. Ask the question again.
It was basically, do you guys predominantly work with scripted, or do you work in unscripted and as well for financing?
Across the board. So we've done documentaries, we've done both feature film and TV documentaries, we've done kids animation. We've looked at a few factual TV programs, and we're completely open to that. And we've gone further down. We've gone down the line, but we haven't quite managed to do one yet. But we'd be open to like factual entertainment as well as.
What have been the reasons for you not being able to do one?
I think we just lost out on the deal. I think someone else did it. I think the broadcasters. It's the same reason why we haven't done a lot of.
Lost you there, Nathan.
Yeah, we're losing you. This is
Am I cutting out?
Yeah, bad dropout. Let's see if we can answer the question. I don't know what we're gonna do. Nathan, if we can't get you clearly because your signal keeps dropping out, will you come back and do another session for us and come and talk to us again, maybe? Because your signal is a bit. Yeah, let's try and answer Ellie's question again and see how we get
from it was just from when you said it was why Factor you lost out on the deal, and then you were going on to say something.
I'm going to try and switch to my phone.
Let's see if that makes a difference. And thank you guys for your patience. It's been a bit of it's been one of those how do you work feature documentary things. This is great. Thanks for your patience. Our friend from Nigeria's, it's funny, isn't it? Our friend from Nigeria's connection was okay, but in LA it's not so great. That's wonderful, isn't it? Nathan, actually someone suggested maybe turning off your camera might help as well in terms of the internet pool that it's using. So maybe see if you put on your mic. Who giggled at that? Behave yourself. Let's see how we go again. Ellie, do you want to ask that question again and see how we get on?
Yeah, it was just about I forgot my question now. Do you do unscripted as well as scripted? Yeah, we got to that point where you said,
can you hear me now?
Yeah. It says for some, I don't know if anyone else is getting this, but I can see your Wi-Fi signal on my screen, and it keeps going down to red and then up to green. It's very odd. It's like it's warning.
I was going to say, Nathan, just before we spoke to a young man in Nigeria, Lagos. His internet was perfect. You're dead. Big LA, you know. Big LA. Internet rubbish. Wagwan.
Is this a bit better though?
It feels a bit better.
Seems it.
Yeah, let's see how we go.
Okay, cool. I'll try it one more time. I was saying that we haven't done factual entertainment to date. We came close on a project last year or the year before, but we lost out on that deal. Typically, we haven't done factual entertainment because broadcasters cash flow their own license fees. However, as budgets are getting squeezed from the likes of Channel 4, ITV, etc., we're seeing more examples of projects where they want to pay on delivery, and that gives us more of an opportunity to get into that space. So I expect that we'll do more factual entertainment, scripted TV, and we're seeing more of that across our desk now, whereas historically we wouldn't have necessarily got those deals. Did you hear that?
Yes. And do people ever come to you first, or do they have to have already collected a certain amount of money?
No, what do you mean? As long as you have a contract, you can come to us, basically. If you're negotiating a contract with a Channel 5 or ITV or BBC, etc.
Okay.
You can at that point, basically, because we need to see the payment terms in the contract, and that helps with us putting together a proposal.
So as soon as you've got a contract, you've been given a commission, and those terms of contract, people should kind of get in contact with you to see how else you can.
And even if you're negotiating and you've just got ahead of terms and you know kind of roughly what the basis of that contract is, like it's not a one-time thing. You can come to us, we can provide a quote. Then if the MG comes down or the payment terms shift, we're more than happy to then refresh the quote and just like give you a more accurate proposal as you're going along and negotiating. And sometimes you can actually use us as leverage to say, actually, it's going to be more expensive if you're waiting everything on delivery. And therefore, it maybe give you a bit more bargaining power with the broadcaster to maybe say, actually, we'll pay you, I don't know, 30% on signature rather than 20% on signature, or we'll give you a bit of money after the completion of principal photography, etc.
It must be quite an advantage to be able to go to a broadcaster and say that you've kind of guaranteed or you're able to raise some of this money in some kind of way. Is that how often production companies use you to kind of like when they're trying to get, because at the moment it's rare that a broadcaster will give you all the money or commission will give you all the money for your projects. So are they kind of using you as part of that package to say, listen, help me get this over the line because I can guarantee that these guys are going to give me this kind of money? Are you seeing more and more? Are you interacting with producers more like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like we are interacting with producers at an earlier stage to be part of the conversation because finance plans are so fluid. Whereas before we just come later on. Now sometimes we are doing those things whereby we're providing a quote just so that they have like this portion. Then it means I need to go out and raise X amount more, and it can help with conversations with equity investors to say, actually, you've promised X amount. There's still a gap of 100,000. Can you come up a little bit more? And then we're greening it, because ultimately for an equity investor, if they're putting money in, or if they've already put some money into, I don't know, secure an actor or to help with development, you're helping them, they're helping to greenlight the project earlier if they come up a bit more. So you're kind of in a stronger position if you can say, actually, we've got some other financing that's come to the table as well.
That's
right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's almost now. Sorry, I'm done. Thank you, Nathan.
No, please, Ellie, please. I think it's important. Go.
No, I was just
Ellie, say what you're saying.
I was going to echo the same thing that you kind of just said then, Simone. Like, if you're able to use it as a part of your pitch in a way, at a much earlier stage, to say we've already had interest for, we can raise 35% of the budget. I feel like that's kind of would help at the
advantage, isn't it? Nathan, do you know, like, for keeping it real now,
but you might not have a contract at that point. That's the point.
That's right.
That I was
going to say, keeping it real. How much are you dealing with kind of global majority content producers, maybe smaller production outfits? Do you find, are you working mainly with the bigger outfits or kind of smaller independent production companies, smaller production companies kind of on the grow? Can they kind of get in touch, and are you working with them? What are the kind of things, do you tend to work across the board? Or so if a smaller independent was to reach out, would you engage in that conversation?
We work across the board. I'm actively, I mean, that's partly the reason why we met in Barbados, right? I'm trying to get more like global majority productions in our wheelhouse and off the ground. It's difficult because I can't really engage in a meaningful way with smaller productions if they're not already having the conversations and the relationships with in the film world, the Universals or the Sonys, etc., all these smaller distributors. Because my job is based off of having contracted collateral. And in the TV world, it's like if producers aren't already having those conversations with the ITVs of the world, the Channel 4s, etc., or Film 4, and are able to kind of start the negotiations and have those contracts, it's if they don't have those relationships, then it's hard for me to have a conversation. So And to be truthful, we've not worked with a load of majority filmmakers, but I'm always open to having a conversation. I'm always open to trying to help get those projects off the ground. So honestly, anyone on this call, feel free to reach out to me. I can give my email address either in the chat or Simone can share it.
Yeah, we'll definitely share it. Riri, I don't know if she's still here, but she was asking, how do you work with feature documentaries, and also and do you work with one-off solo directors? Let me say, yeah. That was a question. Oh, she asked, sorry, Riri, I thought you said you were going. I apologize. Oh, I'm showing her. I am. Let's show her question. Do you work with feature documentaries? I'm going to invite you to join us if you've got time before you go. She's joined backstage. So wonderful. She'll come and answer the question. Here she is.
Hello.
Hey, hi, Riri.
Yeah, so sorry, I'm kind of actually trying to get ready to go to a meeting and I'm sort of cooking at the same time. That's why.
No problem.
Yeah, I guess I was just really interested if how you work with solo feature documentary directors. Let's say we're working on an idea and we're trying to build up that sort of whole thing of getting a taster tape ready, the idea needs developing. Do you give loans for that sort of thing so that it's like giving initial startup loans, which I would imagine would get paid back once there is a proper commission? It's just that we have to go through so many hoops these days to get a feature doc off the ground. I just wonder if there's anything that you would advise, whether you would work with us in any way.
So we have done feature documentaries, but we're strictly production financing. So it's what we've done. We did the Shane Warne documentary, we did the Tina Turner documentary on Amazon, but that was again cash flow and collateral. We don't provide development funding just because you can be in development for years and years and years. Our backers they come from a family office background, so yeah, we're not in the equity or development game.
Yeah, got it. Okay, thanks.
And did that answer your question? And what about your solo director question? Did it get that answered as well? Did that answer that?
Yeah, but I guess it's the same thing, isn't it?
You wouldn't work with you wouldn't work. You'd have to go through a production company.
We would still work with them, but not in a development capacity. We would work with them once they've got a commission from a broadcaster or distributor and cash flow that collateral. So that's what happened with the Shane Warne documentary. We provided a loan against a UK tax credit. Madman, who's an Australian distributor, we cash flowed that. We cash flowed an Amazon contract and a producer offset, which is an Australian tax credit loan as well. So scenarios like that where you have contracts.
Yeah, so essentially, once you've got a contract, sorry, Riri, you go, and then let me say after.
Exactly that. I guess it is that once you've got a sort of a commitment from a bigger broadcaster or streamer or whatever, then you would be sort of loaning that initial money, rather than giving it as a startup to develop an idea together.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
The only thing I would say is more. Oh, sorry.
Please go ahead, Nathan. Go. The only thing you would say?
The only thing I would say, is more and more we're trying to, I'm meeting with some equity investors out here. More and more we're trying to establish relationships with equity investors, gap finances, the people that do development, so that in those scenarios, we can say that we don't do development, but however, speak to X person and they may be able to help you. So we're trying to widen our network, and I'm specifically trying to widen my network with equity investors, development houses that are looking to invest in like Black and Brown film productions.
What's in it for the producer in doing it your way? As if you already have a commission, why would we need the loan?
So it's what I was saying earlier. Before, there wasn't actually necessarily a need for us because a broadcaster would cash flow their license fees throughout production, and then you would just manage your cash flow accordingly. However, more and more, I think as broadcasters' budgets are getting tighter, one, they're providing you with less money. Two, they're actually paying on delivery. So if you don't have, you'd need to raise the money to make the film to then deliver it to the broadcaster to then to then pay us or pay you. Does that make sense? So whereas before they would, I don't know, pay a sum at the start of principal photography, a sum after principal photography, a sum during post-production, and then in delivery. Now they're just paying in delivery, and you're kind of stuck in a situation whereby you need money to then make the film to then deliver it to the broadcaster. So you're kind of in a catch-22, and that's basically where we come in.
So it's the kind of running cost of that production because they take so long afterwards to give the money so that you can actually get the production.
Yeah. So I appreciate there's no need for us if they're cash flowing it in installments throughout production.
Yeah,
but if not, I don't know. It'll be interesting to understand just from you guys if that's in your negotiations with broadcasters, if that is becoming more and more of a thing.
It'd be interesting. Yeah, please drop that in chat. So if you had a commission, are they kind of paying up front? Are they paying in installments or paying from the end? I've heard that there's 1 or 2 broadcasters that are really awful and paid like takes up to 6 months to pay money, which can kind of is quite crippling if you're a smaller production company. Do you have to have a commission with one of the big either streamers like your Amazons or your Netflix or the BBC's ITVs? Do you kind of look at smaller productions? Is there any production across the board, or does it is there kind of a criteria of that you work with that producers have to meet in order to work with you?
No, we so actually in the film world, we're working with a whole bunch of distributors from all over the world. So it's not just the streamers and the studios. There are smaller independent distributors throughout the world that can still provide distribution contracts and that we would lend against. We do look at like the kind of credit rating, or we would attribute a credit rating to a smaller distributor in the Middle East or Indonesia. Like that would affect our loan to value, so how much we actually provide against the value of that contract versus a big streamer or like the Disneys of the world that we know has a lot of money and kind of can withstand events like COVID, etc. But yeah, we look at all distribution contracts from all distributors.
Mm-hmm. Nicola just put on a comment. Broadcasters pay you in tranches based on your preset milestones. So, Nicola, for you, would this kind of service be of use to you, or because you're kind of cash flowed right through, do you kind of just intrigued? Because to Eddie's point, if you've already got the money, do you need the loan? Would something like this be of use to you on your productions? It'd be great if you. I'm going to try cheekily to invite you on stage. You can ignore me and then write in chat, but I'm going to try and invite you up. She's already been invited on stage. And I don't know what's going on. Oh, she's coming. I think so I'm trying to get my head around whether they're coming on stage. Nicola, when you're coming on stage, it'd be interesting to see whether something like this and how you can imagine. Nicola's works on Dreamings Whilst Black. Is the producer for Dreaming Whilst
Black. I know Nicola.
You know Nicola, and various different projects. She's extremely talented. I think, is she coming on stage? So in the situation that Nicola's described, you wouldn't. Oh, she's here. Nicola, you here?
I am. I'm not sure what's going on. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we can see you as well. Wonderful.
Okay.
Wonderful. Do you want to explain it? So for you, because it's paid in that way, how would something that what Nathan's described?
Yeah, so it is useful because and can help. I mean, from a production company standpoint, because the broadcasters do pay you in tranches based on preset milestones. But then as you go on in production, for example, when you're applying for your tax credit and you kind of do all of that before you head into production. So a company like, for example, Shipley's, who do the audit. And, you need to have at some point, depending on how the production is going, you may need some support in terms of having, a service like what Nathan provides, whether it's for your VAT or whether it's for your tax credit, or waiting for that final tranche during delivery. If your post is extended or something, as I said, happens on the production, and that you kind of need additional support in terms of waiting for that final tranche or the last 2 tranches of payments to come in from your broadcaster, or if you need the VAT.
Yeah, and our loans will be cheaper in those instances where you're getting paid out in installments throughout production versus a scenario where you're just being paid on delivery, where the money is all out for a longer period of time. So yeah.
Yeah, because that's important as well as the cost of money. So the cost of borrowing.
Yeah.
And if you do have a distributor that's on board, yeah, that cost is going to be quite high.
This is all like I'm learning. I think that oftentimes we're so creative and spend a lot of time just wanting to create. So these conversations are really important about how we deal with the money, because after all, the industry is called show business. I'm going to kind of wrap up because I'm also conscious that we've got another session after this, and we've kind of been back-to-back sessions. Nathan, in terms of people wanting to connect with you, what would you say to people, or is there any kind of thoughts or advice? It's a really rough time. People still want to make content. Not sure where they can raise money. We understand they should get to you once they've got commission in hand. Is there any other advice or anything else that you'd want to say? I think we've been hearing that linear. Sorry, I've just seen another comment. Thanks, Nicola, for being there. I think we've been hearing that linear TV is dead and the money and budgets dry up with places like will be integral. Yeah, is that true? Do you reckon that people be leaning on you more as the industry continues to work out what it's doing? It seems to be shrinking, or linear TV as we know it.
Yeah, I think so. I think so, and I think we'll see more scenarios like Dreaming Whilst Black. So formerly, you could a UK broadcaster would pretty much help fully finance a production. However, now it looks like more you'll need those kind of international and domestic pre-sales as well. So the fact that Dreaming Whilst Black was, well, I think it was BBC A24, that you will need other distributors from abroad to help actually pull your finance plan together. I don't think the BBC would have been able to do Dreaming Whilst Black just by themselves, because their budgets are so much more squeezed. In answer to your other question, I'm more than happy for everyone on this to just have my email address. I'm more than happy to have a conversation. Sometimes it gets busy, so if I miss an email or if I haven't responded, just chase me again. I'm completely fine with that, and I'm happy to just have a chat based off of where you're at and just give any advice I can. And like I said, if you're in a scenario whereby you're negotiating with a broadcaster, more than happy to provide a quote, which then maybe you can use to arm yourselves and kind of get the best deal out of the broadcaster, or get more favorable payment terms, etc., to just help your production.
Nathan, thank you so much. And we can come. I mean, I'm so, as I'm listening to you, I'm quite aware of how little I know, and kind of urge people to kind of know for real, like clue up and understand this stuff. It's a brave new world out there, and I think long gone are the days where you go to BBC and they hand you a large pot of money for you to make a program. You've really got to queue up on where the kind of resources are and where the places you can get money and how that works. Do you know what I mean? And how much it costs, the cost of money and stuff like that. So these sessions are invaluable. So Nathan, thank you so much. And I'd love to invite you back again to maybe do just to do another session. I think these conversations around money are so important, and we should continue to do them.